Welcome to Becca and the Balance. I'm Becca. Today we are going to be making a delicious blueberry sauce. We went and picked some fresh blueberries just yesterday, and I've been dying to get these all cooked up into a sauce that I can put on all sorts of things. But before we get started, I wanted you to know that you can find me over on Instagram. I'm on there every single day. You can see my family and the little garden that we're growing. I've got tomatoes that are just about ready to pop. You can also follow me on Facebook, though I'm not over there as much. You can also find me on Pinterest with Becca and the Balance. And everything you see here in this video today, you can shop by hitting the shop button linked in my bio. And you have a free printable recipe of this recipe, the blueberry sauce, and any other ones you've seen on here, also linked in my bio. If you have any questions, please comment below and make sure that you like and subscribe so I know what you want to see and I can make content better created to help you while you're cooking. So these are the delicious blueberries we picked. We did just 1 gallon of them because that's more than enough for us for now. It was only $17 to pick it ourselves, and they also had for $22, they would pick it for you. This is locally here over in Knoxville, Arkansas. It took me a second there. I will link their name down below here. They also have blackberries, and those are only $15 you pick for a gallon. And I may go back there so that I can make us something delicious with blackberries. I had some ideas after we left, like, shoot, I should have got those. But anyway, these have been washed. I put them in my sink with just enough water to cover them with a couple inches. I did a half a cup of vinegar in there to wash off any bugs and things. And then I did sprinkle on some baking soda, and I let them fizzle for like 5-10 minutes. And then I took them out and rinsed them in a colander. I put a paper towel in here just in case there's any water that I mixed. And that way it can soak that up and these can stay nice and dry, but nice and cold. Look how beautiful those are. So let's go over to the stove and we'll get that sauce made. So one of the very beautiful things about cooking a recipe is as long as you stick to the base, especially something like this where we're cooking at stovetop, you can add a little more or a little less sweet depending on your taste buds. So I prefer mine a little bit more sweet. I usually start off this recipe with 4 cups of fruit. You can use fresh or frozen. That's totally fine. I've used frozen plenty of times. It's perfect. And then 1 tablespoon of water and 1 teaspoon of lemon. And then I go with half of a cup of white granulated sugar. You may prefer yours to be a little bit tartar. You may want to start off with just a 1/4 cup and then test it along the way and see how you feel about it. And sometimes I've had fruit batches where I'm like, this is so much more tart than I was expecting. Add a little more sugar. Other times I've had these really deep red, almost squishy strawberries, and they've barely needed any sugar at all. So this is going to depend on your preference. You just stick with the base of the recipe and then you can play with it there. So we're going to start off by adding 4 cups of fresh or frozen fruit here. If you're using frozen fruit, you probably don't need to add the 1 tablespoon of water because they tend to freeze with a little bit of ice frozen to them. That will melt in your pan as you go. So if you're using fresh fruit, add that 1 tablespoon of water. Here are those beautiful blueberries again. We picked this as a family Father's Day weekend here. And one of the beautiful things about more rural living is that we only had to go like 15 minutes and we were just on somebody's farm picking fruit. It was delightful. And these are like just so beautiful and fresh. And he said he didn't use any chemicals on them, which was amazing. So it was such a treat to be able to have these local. So we're going to turn this to like a medium heat to start. And these are going to be, we're going to squish these down slowly as we go. So that's 3. And 4. You can see why I only did 1 gallon. We still have a ton left, but don't worry, I have lots of plans for these. Okay, and here's that 1 tablespoon of water, 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. There's something about this lid. Every time it is so tight. There we go. And then as I stated, we're going to start off on my end with a half of a cup of white granulated sugar. I've just got a 1/4 cup measurement here, so don't let that distract you. I was too lazy to wash my half a cup one, to be quite honest with you. Okay, so there's a half a cup. I'm going to set this here in case I want to add a little bit more. So using a wood spoon, you usually hear recipes that say that use a wood spoon. It's just because a lot of times the metal spoons can sometimes transfer a metallic flavor. So you usually use wood because then they don't do that. So using your wooden spoon, you're just going to go about stirring this all together while they heat up and squishing your fruit. Now, once they start to heat up, they'll kind of pop open and this will be easily done for you. The beautiful thing about a recipe like this is that you can use this with just about anything. I make these delicious Belgian homemade waffles, and mom hack, my little daughter loves having a quarter of a Belgian waffle all week long. So I'll make a batch of waffles, and then throughout the week for breakfast, I just microwave one for like 10 seconds. They microwave perfectly. You wouldn't think so, but they do. And my son, who loves my homemade whipped cream, which I'm going to have with some of these because obviously fruit and whipped cream, he will eat a waffle with whipped cream. He doesn't, neither of my kids really prefer syrup. It's kind of odd. But with this fruit sauce, my son loves this, and he will eat the waffles with this fruit sauce because it's just so good and refreshing, and it doesn't feel as heavy as like a maple syrup does. So this one's definitely a favorite. We put it on all kinds of stuff in our house. And like I said, I've made this in the past with raspberries before. It's so good. A simple fruit like this is also really, really good to put in like a lemonade. So if you wanted to have like a kind of showstopper lemonade, we're going to strain this. So it's literally just going to be like a thicker syrup. So you could put a little bit of this in a lemonade and mix it up, and it's going to be perfect without any pulp because I hate pulp. This is also delicious on top of ice cream. I shared a no-turn ice cream recipe with you, so that would be so good with this. And one of the recipes that I'm going to share with you, because the 4th of July is coming up, is little no-bake cheesecakes with a hint of lime in them. Not too much, but a little hint of it with some of this blueberry sauce, just a little bit more thickened on top. They're going to be so good. They're individual little bites. They're the perfect 4th of July dessert. And they're blue, so they're on theme. Love that. So I'm going to tilt this so you can see it now. We're only a few minutes heated up. But do you see we're already starting to get that sauce in there? That's exactly what you want. So we're just going to keep them warming through. And they're bursting open, which we love. Okay, and then we're going to, especially while they're warming up, we're just going to start squishing them. I don't know if you've ever made a homemade cranberry sauce. I'm going to share a really easy, very satisfying recipe for that for Thanksgiving coming up. But they burst open in a pan, and it is so satisfying. They bubble to the top, and they just kind of, and they're so satisfying to look at. The blueberries don't have the same satisfying pop sound as the cranberries do, but we'll make do. I should do one of those ASMR, those like listening videos to the cranberry one, because they have a distinct popping sound they make. If you follow me over on Instagram, you know that the other day when I was washing these blueberries, I added the baking soda and we got to listen to it. I love that fizzle sound. And you can also use an immersion blender for this. You just put it in there and get those all squished up together. If you're impatient and you don't want to wait and squish this around, let them cool for a little bit and put them in your regular blender. You can also do what I'm going to do here and just get a fork and just start pushing on them. Okay, so I'm going to give these a good squish with my fork. We just want to make sure they all pop open. So now that we've really heated up pretty good, I'm going to turn this to a medium-high heat just to get a really good simmer going. The blueberries heating up makes it a lot easier for them to squish. It also helps your sugar melt in there. It helps all the flavors combine. See, we are getting there. How good that looks. And if you're having a hard time or you're missing some of these, don't panic. At the very end here, when we give these a good sieve, you're going to have a chance to really squeeze out all those juices. Okay, I've done some pretty good work here. We've got a lot of them squished. I'm going to give this a few more minutes to simmer. I'm going to come back and give them one more squish. Okay, I'm back because mine is starting to boil and we don't want that. So turn it down as you need to. You just want a nice low simmer. And mine are looking absolutely perfect. So once yours are about done, which is going to be where they're all mostly open, you have that beautiful blueberry color and all of your sugars are combined. You can give it a taste and see where you're at and see if you need to add more sugar. Remember to start off with a little bit less. If you don't like things on the sweet side, you can always add more rather than taking it out. You can't take it out once it's in there. So let's give it a try. Oh my gosh, it is so good. It is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to turn mine off. And now, don't get rid of this pan because we're going to put our fruit back in here. But what you're going to do is just take it off the heat and get another heat-safe bowl because we're going to sieve this out and get all the pulp out and everything. So we're just left with this nice, smooth blueberry sauce. Okay, so I've got my heat-safe bowl here, and I'm going to put this over here like so. So we're going to pour this syrup in with our sieve and making sure we get everything out of it. And then we're going to continue to squish those blueberries down to make sure they're all open so we don't let any of that delicious blueberry flavoring escape. Okay, don't get your clothes messy. I have aprons. I think they're so cute. I sew aprons, I buy aprons, and then I never wear them. The good news about that is that I have become an excellent stain remover. Maybe I'll do a video because I am constantly grease staining and food staining clothing, and I can always get my stains out. So necessity is the mother of invention. All right, I have got everything in there. So now that that's there, grab your spoon or your fork, whichever you prefer. See, that's what we want, is that down there. We want to get rid of all this though. So you just need to turn these around so that all of this, scraping the bottom so that all the juice has a chance to escape, but we can keep all the little peels and things from the blueberries in here. Now, consequently, if you compost, this leftovers up here would be great for your compost. I should see if this would do my tomatoes any good. We're growing tomatoes so that we can make sun-dried tomato and all the delicious tomato recipes to share with you guys here soon when they all burst. So just keep moving this around, scraping the little bottom as you go so that your juice has a chance to escape. If it gets all clogged up on top, your juice can't get out. So keep moving that around. Okay. And then kind of press everybody in. Make sure it's all popped so you get all that flavor. And I don't like to waste anything. So like I said, if you have compost, this would be great for compost. Then you can use your fork again just for a little more pointed pushing. I think I've gotten all of mine here. All I see is like just blueberry pulp. So I'm gonna give it one more really good stir. I was lying, I missed one. Tisk, tisk. Okay, gang, I think we got it. Okay. And then you want to do this on the bottom. A lot of your stuff will get stuck to the bottom. See how much will come off? You want all of that. So get that all off. And then you're going to discard this or compost like we talked about. Don't drip it on anything. It'll stain everything. So transfer it back into your bowl. Again, careful not to splash your clothes. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to eat this. It's so delicious warm, but I have big plans for it cold. So you guys make sure that you check back in later this week, and I'm going to show you all the different ways you can use this. Okay, so getting it all back in there. Now we're going to make our slurry. This is already a really good texture on its own, and you can leave it like that if you want, but I do like mine just a little bit thicker. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cold water, gotta be cold, with 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and you're going to mix those together. Then you're going to put those in here, and we're going to turn the heat back up to let it thicken for just a minute. Okay, so here's that 1 tablespoon of cold water and 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and we're just going to mix that up. It's kind of pulley if you've never used cornstarch before. It has kind of a weird texture. You just want to mix it up really, really good. It is going to be our thickener of the sauce. So turn this back up. You want a medium-high heat on it. And don't worry, if you've never used it before, it's going to make your recipe look a little bit cloudy at first. And then once it cooks, it will clear up and it will be a nice blue color, but it will look a little bit white at first. Okay, so we've got that in there. And see how it's making it look a little lighter. Don't worry. Okay, and we're just going to bring this up just enough. You'll feel it start to pull. It doesn't have to be back on the heat for very long at all. Okay, so make sure you keep on stirring it. You don't want it to burn, and especially as it starts to thicken, it usually starts on the bottom of the pan first, so you can feel it start to pull a little bit. Just keep moving it around, keep stirring it. And if you want yours thicker yet, you can do that. You can do about 2 tablespoons of water and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and get it a little bit thicker. I would recommend, though, once again, you can't take it out once you have it in, starting off with something small, seeing if you like the texture, and it will thicken up as it cools as well. There we go. We are thickening. It's perfect. And again, if it starts to look a little too thick, just take it right off the heat, turn your burner off, and let it cool. All right, I think we're perfect here. And that is it, gang. So here's mine. You can see it's not as runny, just thick enough. And like I said, once it cools, it's going to be a little bit thicker still. Give it a try again. It is so good. If you were here, I would be making you sample it and we'd be making all sorts of delicious things, but you are there. I hope yours turns out so perfect. You're going to let this cool, and then you can store it in your fridge in a mason jar for a little while, keeping in mind that it's a fruit. So I would say maybe 3 to 4 days at best. If you're making it in advance, maybe just make it just the day before, but it is delicious. I'm gonna let this cool. I'm gonna put it in a mason jar, keep it in my fridge, tune back in this week, and I will show you all the other delicious things I'm making with it. And let me know what fruit you used and how yours turned out in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.